I was telling the truth about Fitzy, mister.
Okay, calm down. Now tell me what happened.
I was standing here, minding me own business, when I saw this beautiful red sports car coming up over the hill. Would you look at that, says I, and I going over to take a closer look. Next thing, Fitzy comes tearing out of the pub and nearly knocks me on my ass, when the car just flies at him. It was too fast for poor old Fitzy, and hit him an awful wallop. He goes flying up on top. Jesus, says I thought he was a goner. Next thing, the driver hops out, and I couldn't believe my eyes. He was dressed like a bloody pixie.
You would have thought that with all of this commotion, at least one person inside of this pub would have come outside to actually see what was going on.
Hey, McGuire.
What?
Did this pixie have a scar on his cheek?
I couldn't see. He was wearing a stupid mask. Are you a special agent?
Sorry to disappoint you, kid, but I'm not. Did Fitzgerald drop anything when he was hit?
I didn't see. It all happened so fast.
Maybe the package fell somewhere out of sight. What do you make of this, kid?
Hey, that's one of Leary's towels. He'll skin you alive.
That old windbag doesn't scare me. Anyhow, I'm only borrowing it.
You're pretty cool, mister. For an old guy.
What do you think this wire could be used for?
Stealing cars. There's only one problem.
The local policeman?
No. Nobody in Lochmarn got a car.
See you later, kid.
Okay, mister.
The plastic cover had been smashed and broken away, revealing a switch. I pushed the switch down, but in doing so it snapped off in my hand.
Whoops.
Excuse me, Mr. O'Brien.
Hello there. What now?
I have a suspicion that Fitzgerald might have been given something by Pegram.
I thought he acted strangely.
I'm talking about the gem. It was something he said.
Were you not speaking to him when he ran out of the bar?
I only asked him about the gem.
Fitzgerald has troubles enough already. He's a nervous, unstable man at the best of times. The last thing he needs is to be harassed by a hack newsboy.
Goodbye for now.
Good riddance to you.
Well, that told us.
Hey!
Hello there again, mister.
Bye for now.
That's quite strange. There's no talk about pixies or leprechauns.
Excuse me.
Yes, sir?
May I have another beer, please?
Certainly, sir. Same again?
Yeah, please. How is this stuff made?
That's the secret of the master brewer, sir. Each barrel is lovingly manhandled in time-honoured fashion, suspended on skillfully tied ropes of the finest hemp, lowered into the cellar utilising the forces of original gravity, like manna from heaven. I'm sorry, but the pump appears to be broken.
I could fix it for you.
I don't think so. This is a job for a professional electrician. Oh well, at least the glass washer is still working. It's not my idea, is it?
A professional electrician, you say?
It just so happens I'm an electrician. Check out my credentials.
Well, no. Isn't that marvellous? Here's a house bedevilled with faulty wiring of a wayward nature. Here's you, an electric man, with a little plastic card to prove it. I still want to see what you can do before I let you touch me beer pumps. You can make a start on the glass washer. When you finish that, will you take a look at the pumps?
It was an electric glass washer. It looked even older than the barman.
No! No! Careful!
I couldn't see anything obviously wrong with the machine. I figured it must be the wiring.
You could just, like, open it up and poke around for a bit, maybe?
It was an electrical plug attached to the glass washer. I used all my knowledge of electrical engineering to examine the plug.
Right, it's time to break a couple of safety violations.
I replaced the fuse with a piece of wire. I knew it was dangerous, but I was desperate enough to disregard everything I knew about standard safety precautions. Excuse me, Mr. Leary. I fixed your glass washer, no problem.
Bingo! And a blessing to all the saints. A free half-pint to that man, on the house. Now, could you take a look at the beer pumps?
Well, I guess so, but I'm not making any promises.
If you can't fix them, I'll have a riot on me hands.
The pumps are in the cellar, right?
That's right. You'll find a flashlight down there somewhere.
Did he just phase through that phone just there?
It was the lever which locked the trap door. I pushed the lever and heard the grating of metal, but nothing appeared to happen. I pulled the lever and the bolt creaked back into place. I pushed the lever and heard the grating of metal, but nothing appeared to happen.
Okay, enough of that.
I lifted the trap door and an overpowering smell of stale beer rose from the cellar below. I looked down on a stone-tiled floor, way too far to jump.
Excuse me.
There was a nasty feeling in my guts I usually associated with light opera. It was Khan. What's the problem?
Did you see what happened here a few minutes ago?
What was that?
A man was involved in an unfortunate accident.
I didn't see anything.
What about the boy?
He doesn't know anything either. The kid, well, you know how it is in these rural communities. Not enough genes to go round. I prayed McGuire had the sense to keep his mouth shut. Was the guy hurt bad?
He's been taken care of, but he thinks he dropped a small parcel. You didn't happen to find it, did you?
If I had, I would have taken it to the police.
Of course. Thank you.
He's got some balls on him, but that parcel must have been very important for him to come back.
Now I could see. I spotted Mr. Leary's flashlight easily. Then I noticed a flash of light, something sparkling beneath the open trap door. It was Peagram's gem, all right. A large, uncut blue stone. I guess I was already under its spell.
Did you find it?
What?
Whatever you was looking for.
Yeah. Listen, McGuire, I want you to keep this to yourself.
No problemo. Just chuck us up a crate of lager.
No way, you're not old enough.
We can sell it and make some cash.
Forget it, kid. I couldn't betray Mr. Leary's trust.
I could, for sure. That old misery guts deserves it.
If you want to do me a favor, keep a lookout for that guy in the suit.
Okay. But it'll cost you a packet of chips.
Oh, and shout if you see that Ferrari.
Just where are the pumps down here? This is definitely a storage area.
It was a rusty faucet. The faucet creaked, coughed, and spewed out a stream of rusty-colored water. It was a rusty faucet.
We do have a towel. Let's get it wet.
I held the towel under the faucet and soaked it with water.
I wonder. Okay.
I shut off the faucet as tight as I could, but it kept on dripping.
I didn't think that it would work, it was just a whim. So we can't even access the pumps here. Never mind, we have done all that we can do right now. There is another area we can explore.
The gates were made of solid, age-blackened wood. Pushing with all my strength got me nowhere. They didn't budge. I really need to start working out. The farmer's craggy face was set in a mask of aesthetic appreciation. His feet were set in a pair of manure-caked boots. Hi, do you speak English?
Well, no, what if I was to say no? An implication of cognizance shrouded in denial. A pretty poser of a paradox indeed.
I gave him the look I'd perfected when I was 12 and was going to be the greatest hypnotist of all time. It was a killer.
Are you attempting to hypnotize me, or is it the constipation you're suffering?
I was a little out of practice.
It could be a bit of both.
Does this tool mean anything to you?
No, it doesn't. Is it used on sheep?
No, it's for lifting the covers off drains.
Never. How?
Well, the end of the tool fits into the hole in the cover.
They'd slip out. Angles are wrong. You'd never do it.
I have. I did it in Paris. Do you recognize the man in this photograph?
No, but I wouldn't trust him. His eyes are too close together.
Does this false nose mean anything to you?
You're a circus clown.
You're a circus clown.
What do you make of this tissue?
That's a sorry sight to wave about in public.
Would you like to shake my hand?
What is this? I don't do that male bonding stuff.
What do you think of my flashlight?
Those electric lamps are useful but limited in lifespan in my experience. I was given one for my birthday, but it stopped working after a month.
Well, the battery was probably drained.
What? Nobody told me. I threw it away.
What do you make of this matchbook?
Seems ordinary enough to me.
Do you recognize the name on this card?
I can't read that little writing.
Have you any use for this towel?
Whatever gave you that idea? Oh dear me, no.
This is the gem that Pegram found in the castle.
So that's what all the fuss was about. I can't see why myself. Why men would fight and steal and kill over a little bauble like that.
Well, it's kind of neat the way it sparkles. What can you tell me about the castle?
Not much, I'm sorry to say. Most of its history is long forgotten. Ah, but if these old stones could only speak, what stories they'd tell. Stories to make your toes curl and your blood run cold. You know, this castle is said to be over 600 years old.
Have you seen Professor Pegram?
No, he's packed up and gone.
Do you happen to know where?
Back in England, I suppose.
Did you happen to see a red sports car down on the road?
I caught a glimpse of a flash of red on the hill and heard the racket. Sure, it was an awful noise. A sports car, you say?
A Ferrari, to be exact.
A racing car? And what was it doing here? The poor fella must have been lost.
The driver of the Ferrari was involved in an accident.
Is that so?
Yeah, he knocked somebody down outside the bar.
What an idiot! How could a thing like that happen?
He was traveling too fast.
So fast, he ran right under the car?
I mean, the car was traveling too fast.
But you'd have thought the idiot could have heard it coming.
I'm sure he did see it coming. And hear it as well.
Maybe you know the guy who was hit by the Ferrari. His name is Sean Fitzgerald.
Oh, I know him all right. That's me nephew, the idiot responsible for the stacking of my hay cart. Was he killed by the car?
Oh, no, but he has been abducted.
Well, that's a relief now.
Aren't you going to look for your nephew?
What for? From what you say, it's too late.
Well, you could report the matter to the police.
Better not. Besides, what could they do?
Well, they could mount a search.
They have only the one bicycle between them. In a question of superior acceleration, I put me money on the Ferrari.
I think you ought to know exactly what Sean has gotten himself into.
I'm not sure I want to know.
But you're his uncle, his own flesh and blood.
You're right, but what can I do? If I'm not here to guard it, some idiot might try to climb the haystack. What a moral dilemma. Stay here and guard this potentially lethal agricultural construction, or to go off in search of the prodigal nephew, the very man responsible for said hazard? It'll need some thinking about.
Why, there's no problem.
You're right. Why didn't I think of it before? We'll demolish the haystack.
You could. Or
You don't have to demolish the haystack to go look for Sean. I'll stay here in your place and warn anyone who's silly enough to climb it.
Marvellous! I think I should start me inquiries in the bar.
He strode off in the direction of McDevitt's bar, leaving me to contemplate the stack of hay.
less contemplation and more climbing.
On the back of the cart was a crazily stacked tower of hay bales, leaning precariously against the castle wall. The stack of hay stopped, short of the top of the wall. Even if I stretched as far as I could, the wall was out of reach. What I needed was a slice or two of Alice's Wonderland. There was a narrow crack between two of the stones where the centuries-old mortar had crumbled away. I pushed my fingers into the narrow crack. It went back several inches into the rock.
We don't really have a lot that could fit in there, but this is the more obvious choice.
I inserted the end of the lifting key in the mortarless crack and gave it a firm shove. It remained lodged in the wall, jutting out to form a step. The lifting key was rammed tightly into the crack in the wall, forming a strong foothold. I tugged at the lifting key and found it was held quite securely.
Hi there! Welcome to our friend Mr. Goat. Now this used to be one of the most infuriating and hardest puzzles in adventure game history, but it has been severely simplified for this play, or this version. We can't even speak to the goat or look at it. So in the original we had two ways we could go, left or right. Both involved the goat knocking us on our ass. And this used to be a time puzzle, but as you can see, the goat jumps back rather quickly. But to get past this puzzle, all you need to do is just click on this.
It was a rusted piece of iron, maybe part of a plow or something. The rope by which the goat was tethered had become tangled on the old plowshare.
And it's as simple as that. Compared to the original, there was no indication that, well, there was an indication that this was somewhat timed, as originally the goat had a bit of a wind-up time going backwards. So you had to get up as quickly as you can after getting knocked over on the right-hand side, so you can run to the left-hand side and move this over here. But as you can see, in this version, there's not much to it, to be honest. They have removed the infamy.
There was a pattern of 5 holes arranged on the wall. They'd been drilled there deliberately. I placed my fingers and thumb into the holes in the wall. Nothing happened. It was a statue which had fallen from its place on the wall. 5 fingers of stone projected from the back of the carving. The statue was too heavy to lift. It overbalanced into the sand. The statue lay face up in the soft sand. As I swung the stone upright, I noticed it had left a pattern of holes in the sand. The 5 fingers on the back of the statue had left their impressions in the fine sand. I placed my fingers in the 5 impressions left by the fallen stone. It was weird. They fit perfectly. Behind the altar was a carved panel decorated with animals, birds, and plants. I tried in vain to move the panel. The sack contained a fine white powder. As I dipped my fingers into the soft white powder, I realized what it was. Plaster of Paris. I'd used it in kindergarten to make casts of animal paw prints.
Unfortunately, we cannot use this plaster of Paris directly on his hole. For some reason we have to zoom right in. A strange design choice, but here we are.
I sprinkled the plaster on the sand until the holes were filled.
And in the original version,
it was a rectangle of toweling printed with the words, "Nagopaline stout builds body." The towel was soaked through with water.
the amount of water that was soaking in this towel diminishes over time, and it's not a lot of time really, but in this version the water stays here, well, I say permanently, it stays until we use it.
The trickle of water was quickly absorbed by the plaster.
Yeah, that is quite a weird design choice, considering that all of the designs are done while it's zoomed out.
My improvised plaster cast was slowly drying out. I eased the solid piece of plaster from the sand. Underneath, it had formed a perfect copy of the statue. The hardened plaster cast fitted snugly into the 5 matching sockets. There was a soft thud, then silence.